sleep. Best time to go to bed is 10 o'clock, 10:30 p.m. Because your body is undergoing deep tissue repair.
Right.
In the late night hours.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Ayurveda translates and talks about this, saying that the night time is the Vataj Kal.
Right.
And in Vataj Kal, if you are not resting your body,
Right.
then Vata is responsible for degeneration.
Right.
You will cause accelerated degeneration.
Yeah.
The diabetic capital of the world,
Yeah.
the heart problem capital of the world, and sheer numbers in India are so big.
Always be like.
And like you mentioned, we are a growing economy.
Yeah.
We should not be burdened by this crazy healthcare cost. Is this claim of saying Ayurveda has no side effects? Everything has a side effect. Even water has side effect.
Right.
So if you're drinking too much of our water, it will fail your body.
Yeah.
You're drinking too little of water, it will fail you.
Correct.
There's nothing wrong with water itself.
Yes, we are going to talk about Ayurveda, which is an ancient alternate form of Indian medicine, and it translates into the knowledge of life and longevity. We have a very special guest amongst us. His name is Madhusudan Chauhan. He's the CEO of Jiva Ayurveda, a new age Ayurvedic company which is revolutionizing how Indians consume Ayurveda.
Thank you, Jitin. Thanks for having me.
This is the first time we have somebody who's representing alternate medicine, or maybe I should not say only medicine, a more sustainable way of living, because I think that is what Ayurveda is, right?
Correct. You're right. It's more than just medicine. It is a whole way of life.
Right.
It teaches you and tells you about what to eat, when to eat, how to live your lifestyle, and best of all, it tailors and personalizes everything according to your own innate nature. So Ayurveda, like the word itself says, is the science of life.
Yeah, so Madhusudan is called MS, so I'll address him as MS. MS, why don't you tell our viewers about Jiva Ayurveda, the entire story of Jiva Ayurveda and how you started and what have you become today? I think people would love to know that story.
It's a very interesting story. In fact, Jiva started with this thought of how do you take the Indian sciences, arts and culture,
right,
marry it with the advancement of the West and create something that helps people live happier, healthier, more balanced lives.
Right.
Applied to Ayurveda, Dr. Pratap Chand, who's the founding director, he's had the unique distinction of studying Ayurveda both the modern way from a university program, and then under Guru Shishya Parampara. So, the 6 years under an Ayurveda.
So, Guru Shishya is the more classical way of learning, is it?
Exactly. So, this is where you stay with the Guru, you do what the Guru says.
Right.
And there are some very interesting anecdotes of while he was with his Guruji and all the things that he made him do, and essentially making him learn and adopt Ayurveda, not merely from understanding what's written perspective, but really from the wisdom aspect of it as well.
Okay.
So Jiva was formed like that, and the mission was, how do you take this authentic, personalized science of Ayurveda and apply a modern wrap around it and deliver it to people where it's more accessible, it's more affordable, and it's more reachable to people.
So when did this all start? Like, which year did it start?
So Jiva was founded in the year 1992 when Dr. Chauhan started a garage startup, right? And this was like many others. Started in the garage of a house with one table, one chair, which was given to him by his Ayurveda guru, and medicines worth 3,500.
However, back in 1992.
Back in 1992, and that's when he had just spent 6-7 years with his Ayurveda guru, doing his Guru Shishya Parampara.
Right.
Thereby, when he told him that go out now and establish the authentic Ayurveda, that's when he embarked on this journey, and the whole journey of Jiva started.
Okay. So today, tell our viewers what is Jiva today. So if somebody was not aware of what Jiva is, can you please tell our audience what is Jiva, what do you do today, and how can people benefit from Jiva Ayurveda?
Yeah. So Jiva, the word itself, in Sanskrit, it translates into the living entity.
Okay.
So Jiva stands today for life well-being of people.
Right.
And we are able to offer it through our life and well-being products and services through education on Ayurveda and health. And the more something that people are more aware of and people have seen it more often is the therapeutic treatment side of Ayurveda. The treatments of Ayurveda. And this is something that Jiva specializes in being able to offer treatments for chronic lifestyle degenerative disorders through our telemedicine, our clinics, and our hospital.
Right. So you have a telemedicine practice, you have clinics where people could visit, and you have a hospital where you actually do admit people and treat them?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So tell us, just let's, help us understand these three in their distinct shapes and sizes, right? So tell us about the telemedicine, like what do people use it for? What are the most common reasons that people reach out to Jiva?
Correct. So I think
telephonically.
At the core of it, it's the simple basic thought that people are struggling with their chronic lifestyle degenerative disorders, right?
Correct.
And they go out and they are typically consuming the conventional therapeutic options available to them, which are predominantly symptomatic in nature, right?
Correct.
So if somebody's got, say, X problem, they're able to address the symptoms of X.
Correct.
And not the disease itself.
Right.
So Jiva comes in and offers this personalized, authentic science of Ayurveda in helping people address the root cause of the problem and thereby help them eliminate the problem itself.
So it is more holistic in nature.
It's more holistic in nature.
Does not focus only on the symptoms and hence does not, let's say, reduce the problem only to that particular set and only attacks that, but looks at it as a whole.
Correct.
Okay.
So we're not addressing only the symptom, but the cause of the problem as well. And thereby it's more holistic, it's more sustainable, it's more long lasting, it's got, it doesn't have side effects and things of that sort.
Right.
The way it gets applied and the way it gets delivered to people, that option is available with the patient. If the patient wants to do it over a tele and a digital setup, we've got doctors who can power it over a tele or a video consultation with medicine delivered to your doorstep.
So how have you been doing these video consultations?
Like I said, this is something we've been doing for over 30 years now.
Over 30 years?
Jiva put up the world's first Ayurveda clinic online. Wow. And just to give you context, this was back in the year 1994-95.
Yeah.
Back
where
then,
the mobile phone penetration would have been
there was hardly any mobile phones. There was hardly any mobile phones. Just a fun fact, right? The entire country's bandwidth, right, must have been some 512 kbps.
Right.
The country's bandwidth.
Right.
Today, a normal smartphone on 4G that you carry, if it is not doing more than 10 Mbps per second, you get frustrated that, my video is not buffering.
Yeah.
So those were the times. And
so from those times, you've come to the stage where like it's become mainstream and telemedicine and video consultations also.
Yes. So back then, because like you said, India did not have penetration of mobiles. India did not have penetration of internet. Internet was essentially restricted to, government departments or university departments or very, very specialized agencies like Bhava Atomic Research Center and things of that sort. Jiva got access to internet pretty early days, right? Okay. And because of that, we were able to showcase to the world Ayurveda and the benefits and the amazing things that Ayurveda can do. And this enabled a lot of Ayurveda access outside India, given the penetration of...
So today, like what percentage of your audience comes from outside of India?
So today it's flipped, right? Today we do a lot of our work happens with patients in India.
In India.
So 90% of all our patients are currently coming from India.
Yeah.
10% from outside India.
So let's hold on to this thought, right? So MS, what we see, and we at Seven, we are focused on making healthcare accessible and affordable, something very similar to what you said. We see that there is a very distinct change in the tastes and preference of people, where people today want to focus a lot on preventive care.
Right.
Where people today are proud of the fact that there are alternate forms of medicine available within the country that they should probably access before they go for more intrusive or aggressive forms of treatment, which possibly happen in other forms of, let's say, care, or predominantly allopathic care. So I think, is that something that you have seen progressively? You've been around for 30 plus years, I think 32 years, as you mentioned. So have you seen a dramatic shift in the choices that people are making towards their personal health and hence adopting?
So I think one of the things that has for sure happened is people are understanding the importance of health.
Okay.
To importance of health before it gets broken.
Right.
So earlier you would only approach healthcare
Right.
when something is broken.
Right.
Now people realize that, only relying on fixing certain things when they're broken is not going to work.
Right.
And that is also backed by a lot of things like, increasing cost of healthcare itself.
Yeah.
COVID has sort of helped all of us, given a wake-up call saying that, don't just wait for it to happen and then pop a pill and then suffer for the rest of the time, but make sure you take charge of your health.
So medical inflation, you talked about the cost of medical science, right? Medical inflation in India is almost 2 times the GDP growth. It's about 15% per annum.
Correct.
In the more aggressive forms of treatments, right? And you mentioned about COVID. So did you also see that as an inflection point where people suddenly said that, look?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, Ayurveda.
And that has driven the adoption of Ayurveda as well. I'm sure you've seen.
Yeah.
Adoption of Ayurveda from 2 points of views. One, people wanting to take charge of their health and saying that we want to look for more natural, healthier ways of staying healthy.
Yeah.
And 2, people realizing that, only intervention-based or being dependent on chemicals only for their healthcare choice is not sustainable. Yeah. It's not good in the long term.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to managing chronic and lifestyle disorders. Because this is not something which is externally inflicted upon us. It's based on our diets, our food, our lifestyle choices.
Right.
And unless it is corrected in a holistic way from the root cause, the problem is not going anywhere. You may elevate the symptoms.
Manifest itself in some other shape.
Yeah, or you may elevate or suppress the symptoms for some time being.
Right.
However, it will come back in another shape or form.
Right.
So people are realizing that, and people are realizing the goodness that Ayurveda has to offer in terms of helping them live healthier, live more sustainably.
Right.
And this is where the adoption of Ayurveda is being driven.
No, this is wonderful. So you talked about telemedicine, you talked about clinics, and you talked about hospitals, right? Can you tell us the most popular treatments that people come to Jiva Ayurveda for?
Right.
Where you've seen that the efficacy of Ayurveda has been immensely, let's say, helpful for people to be able to feel a tangible difference.
Correct.
और वो लोगों को भी जाके बताते हैं कि मतलब, हम लोगों ने Ayurveda treatment लिया and hence we became better. Because Ayurveda is also, very misconstrued sometimes. People may think that my grandmother's concoction is also Ayurveda. So why should I go to, let's say, a doctor? So today, help us understand this aspect of Ayurveda a little bit. What do people come to Jiva Ayurveda? What are the most popular reasons for people to come to Jiva Ayurveda? Where you've seen that efficacy बहुत अच्छी है and people should know and definitely evaluate.
Right.
At least, right?
Right. So owing to the strength that Jiva is able to bring in with respect to multiple ways in which you can approach a Jiva doctor,
right,
we see everything from acute problems to some very, very difficult and terminal cases.
Right.
In terms of what is something that we specialize in are, like I said, the chronic lifestyle degenerative disorders.
Like diabetes.
So, diabetes.
Yeah.
Joint and degenerative joint disorders.
Right.
Neuromuscular disorders.
Because arthritis is like autoimmune, right?
So there are types of arthritis that are autoimmune also.
Yeah.
And in fact, autoimmune disorders is something that we are seeing is rising.
Is rising.
Yeah. This is something that Ayurveda is able to provide a lot of good outcomes wherein patients are seeing visible outcomes in a short span of time.
For autoimmune
disorders. Okay. There is neurodegenerative disorders.
Right.
So we'll get patients who have been on the conventional current modern medicine system therapy, and they've either not seeing any more results or they've sort of capped out on
or plateau
any further outcomes, and they approach Ayurveda. In fact, especially at Jiva Gram, which is a state-of-the-art center for well-being, it is also built in a very interesting, sustainable, eco-friendly manner, entirely out of bamboos and mud.
Oh, wow.
Entire building is on bamboos and mud.
And this is in Faridabad?
This is in Faridabad, correct.
Right, okay.
That place, specifically, we get patients who are, very tough and difficult cases, and the kind of outcomes that we've been able to demonstrate, it's just amazing.
Terminal diseases or something?
So it is, not all of them are terminally ill.
What do people come to the hospital for? Jiva Gram is the hospital?
Yes.
So can you help us understand what are the kind of treatments for which people should go to the hospital versus the clinic versus, telemedicine? I think you spoke about. So hospital.
So like I said, I'll give 4 broad categories in which patients approach us and Ayurveda in general.
Sure.
One is all conditions which are with respect to the gut and digestion.
Gut,
right?
Because as they call is the second brain.
That is. Now they're realizing, Ayurveda has always said it, that most of your problems start with the gut. The gut is where all the action happens, right? Yeah. It may manifest anywhere else, but that's where the action happens. And Ayurveda, in terms of its core philosophies, right? And even in its therapeutic treatments, be it oral medication or panchakarma, focuses disproportionately on fixing the gut.
The gut.
Okay. Today, they say 70 to 80% of all your physiological functioning of the body is determined by the gut itself.
Wow.
Like you rightly mentioned, it's now being talked of as the second brain. The second brain. And they're absolutely right. There's the gut-brain axis, and all of those terminologies are now coming to light.
Right.
So anything which is digestive and gut health,
that is one.
That's the core strength of Ayurveda.
Right.
Musculoskeletal disorders.
Right.
So because they tend to be degenerative in nature.
Arthritis.
Arthritis, cervical, spinal, all of those kind of disorders.
Right.
Then there is a category of neurodegenerative disorders.
Right.
So a lot of the patients who come to us at the Jivagram are in the neurodegenerative category.
So where cognitive functions are impaired?
So this is cases, say for example, you'll have patients who've had muscular dystrophy. We've had a number of these patients, muscular dystrophy cases. There are patients who will have, because of degenerative brain functioning, it has either, led them to Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or things of that sort.
Right.
So that category of diseases is something which in Ayurveda, especially if it comes in the early stages and on the onset, we're able to address it. Then we have a fourth category which we say are our own highly specialized set of diseases, which will include problems like, say, kidney conditions, oncology, infertility. In fact, infertility today, we're seeing such
burgeoning.
It's such a problem. It's emerging, especially in the large towns, owing to the kind of lifestyle stresses, the diet choices, the lifestyle choices we are making.
Right.
It's putting a very disproportionate stress on our bodies, and thereby infertility is on the rise.
So, for example, at Seven, we have like fertility treatments are available in Seven. We have a lot of IVF centers, and I see it's like a multi-million-dollar market opportunity which is growing because the kind of, let's say, demand that is coming is insane.
Correct.
Right? I mean, the market is growing very aggressively, as you rightly said. So Ayurveda has solutions.
We have documented, and one of the strengths at Jiva is we practice this science-based, data-driven Ayurveda.
Evidence-based.
Wherein whatever practice that we are doing, we document it, we create cases out of it, we create, study the outcomes of it, which are documented on both Ayurveda parameters as well as modern diagnostic parameters.
Is this like a private repository, or do you as an Ayurvedic practice also share it with the broader Ayurvedic community? Like, how does it happen?
So both. In fact, Jiva was one of the first organizations to put a structured health documentation system in place. We call it Dhanvantari. We put it back in 2007.
Right.
Wherein we started documenting all our cases, all our interactions, all our patient data.
Right.
Today we have about 2 million documented patient data.
Wow.
These are all patients.
How many patients have you touched, like in the last 30 years? Must be millions, right?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, 2 million, what I'm talking about is documented. Wherein we will be able to tell you what disease they came for, what medicine or treatment was meted out to them, what kind of outcomes they saw. And when we talk to a patient, when we sort of consult a patient, this back-end system is also prompting to the doctor what should be the prognosis for this patient.
Because there is a precedence. And
Exactly. So like when I say that we believe in this science-based, data-driven, evidence-based Ayurveda, we don't just make tall claims that, come to us and we'll reverse diabetes.
This is very interesting, because I think a lot of general perception sometimes about Ayurveda is that, look, this could be practiced in the kitchen.
Correct.
You could take a herb or two, which you may have heard from somebody, and you believe that you're also practicing Ayurveda. And I think personally also I've seen this. I think a lot of us must have experienced this, right? That you're having neem, and every FMCG product will have a neem label on top of it, and that soap becomes Ayurvedic soap. Suddenly becomes an Ayurvedic soap or an Ayurvedic shampoo. Or if you put, let's say, ashwagandha on top of some element, they will say, oh, this is now the elixir. You know, aap sab kuch solve kar sakte ho usse. So help our viewers understand the distinction between use of standalone herbs, which may be available in the kitchen or a garden near you, versus Ayurveda, the medical science.
No, great question. And I think this burns down to the central matter of fact of why a lot of the times Ayurveda is either misunderstood, misinterpreted, and then there are trivialized, and there are a lot of myths around Ayurveda. There's a saying which I like a lot, and it says, great science is science that ceases to be science. And interesting, if you take a look around, right? I mean, a lot of years ago when television first came about, it must have been looked at as, wow, great advancement in science and technology. Today we buy a TV, we don't really look at it as a tech or a watch as a tech. Now there are smartwatches. Today we look at it as tech. Maybe the next generation will look at it as an extension of jewelry or an extension of something that they wear. Interestingly, Ayurveda was such a great science that it percolated down to our everyday lifestyle and our everyday use. It came to our kitchens, it came to our gardens, it came onto our dining tables. While there is great science behind it, however, we started adopting it as common practice or common know-how.
And not maybe giving it its due in terms of it being a science.
So a lot of the developments that are happening now, you know, curcumin, they're looking at curcumin and saying, you know, a little bit of curcumin every day in your diet can prevent cancer. What were we cooking our foods with? The remotest part of the country, the most illiterate person in that village it puts curcumin in their food.
But now it's sold as turmeric.
Now,
you know, there is a ghee coffee.
Exactly.
There's a ghee coffee. Suddenly it's like rage. You know?
Now, I have read of a recent article which is saying that in the USA, they are taking off cholesterol off the bad list. You know, they're saying cholesterol is not all that bad, right? That we've been all branding it as the bad guy on the block. It's not all that bad. Ayurveda has been saying snigdha ahar. You know, having lubrication in your diet is very, very important. So coming back to your question on the kitchen remedies versus the Ayurveda. So the problem happens because everything from the jeera, salt, haldi in your masaldani, right to treating a terminally ill patient by a specialized Vaidya in Ayurveda, and everything in between these two extreme ends of the spectrum is termed as Ayurveda. I go to the market, I pick up Chavanprash, that's Ayurveda. I go into my kitchen remedy and I take some kadi patta and I make some decoction out of it. That's Ayurveda. I go and my friend tells me ki make this, hot decoction and drink it to soothe your throat. That's Ayurveda. The distinction we need to start making is the application of Ayurveda in everyday home as a diet and a nutrition choice and a lifestyle choice, versus choosing Ayurveda as a preventive lifestyle choice, and using Ayurveda for serious disease treatment,
which is the curative
leg of it. Unfortunately, what happens is when we start mixing these three blocks, when I will start saying that, oh, you know what, this bottle of ashwagandha is going to help me cure my X problem, or drinking the Karela Jamun juice will reverse my diabetes. Those sort of oversimplification of disease management and disease treatment both does harm to the end consumer, and also brings in sort of a space for misinterpretation of
a level of distrust to creep in.
Exactly.
It's counterproductive for the line of medicine itself.
So what we always say and draw this distinction that when it comes to a serious disease treatment, you must approach an expert. Correct? While you can certainly take an advice from your peers, your friends, your colleagues and all, but who is the expert in Ayurveda? Approach him. If my car is broken down, I will want to go to a mechanic who's an expert and who can fix it for me. I will not open up the engine and start fixing it myself. However, if there is minor problem with my car, I may top up the engine oil, or I may, start tuning a little bit here and there. So that is not an issue. The problem happens when we sort of start representing this FMCG Ayurveda as the be-all and all of everything.
Because I think that's what's happening. I think that is something, and maybe it's got to do with the consumerization layer of anything which becomes, let's say, suddenly. So Ayurveda probably, is it a 3,000-year-old science or 4,000-year-old science?
Yes, more than that.
More than that. But suddenly, it's in vogue.
Yes.
It's cool to be, believing in natural stuff. And if you see any, top of the line brands, like high street brands.
Correct.
And there are some very high street brands. So let's take the example of, let's say, something like a Forest Essential. It says Forest Essential, right? Because I think it lures people towards something which is very organic and very primal, probably. And it gives you the feeling that sab kuch theek ho jayega.
Correct.
Rather than sab kuch galat hai.
Correct.
Right? Because I think today in the society, a lot of people believe sab kuch galat hai. Today we are probably more prosperous, we have more money, we are more educated, we have more means, we have more electronics and stuff like that. But still the level of discontent amongst people is probably rising rapidly.
Yes.
So we are getting very westernized, right? In the sorts. So I think now that focus ki sab kuch theek ho jayega, people are trying to find refuge in anything which can be construed as Ayurveda, and hence the consumerization probably is happening rapidly, right? So what role do you think?
So I think it's important that Ayurveda is percolated at a mass level.
Right.
It's important for people because there's a lot of goodness Ayurveda can offer.
Right.
It is important for Ayurveda to also modernize itself and to be able to adapt to how people want to consume it.
Like you are a tech-driven Ayurveda platform.
Correct. However, the distinction that I want to make is when it comes to you want to be looking, for your personal care, for your beauty care, for your everyday diet supplements, for supplementing your diet and nutrition from a preventive care standpoint. This is all great. And it must happen. It must happen.
Right.
People must have Ayurveda accessible to them at an arm's length distance in a format that is convenient to them, in a format that is easy for them to adopt.
Right.
However, when it comes to serious treatment, when it comes to ailments, if somebody is diabetic and they're only relying on a OTC product,
Karela and Gilo,
then what happens is they're not providing Ayurveda the full potential opportunity to come in and offer what it offers best in the personalized space of treatment. Having said that, I think it's a good point you mentioned because for a very long time, right, we've been looking at healthcare as something I go and I do in order to fix something.
Correct.
Whereas we forget the larger share of the pie, which is how do I ensure that I retain health?
Right.
So, in fact, Charak Samhita, which is one of the key books of Ayurveda, when you open it, you will see that there is a shloka which says, Prayojanam chasya swastasya swasta rakshanam aturasya vikar praschamanam cha. And it essentially states what is the objective of Ayurveda. So, the Rishi Charak is saying that why am I writing this book?
Right.
I am writing this book because the objective is swastasya swasta rakshanam. Protecting the health of the healthy, and then second line he states aturasya vikar praschamanam cha.
Right.
In case there is a problem, how do you fix it? So thousands of years ago, it was documented.
He had the wisdom to write
this. The objective was preventive care.
Right.
And that's how advanced the thought of the science was.
Right.
That look at preventive care first.
Right.
Unless healthcare.
Right.
Which is why Ayurveda entered the kitchen. Ayurveda entered the masaldani.
Right.
Because I want to ensure that I'm including everything in your diet and your lifestyle on a daily basis. On a day-to-day basis.
To prevent you from going to tertiary care.
Interestingly, today we're talking of intermittent fasting as something we've stumbled upon and is great.
Yeah.
However, if you take a look at it, most Indian households would finish their meals by sunset. By sunset. The next meal is only after 12, 13, 14 hours.
Right.
Built into the whole year calendar are things like Navratri, where you would fast. Ekadashis, where you would fast.
Right.
And this whole concept of resetting your gut, giving your gut the time to heal, detoxify, is built into the lifestyle.
And as such, now it's being, popularized as a Western measure. Intermittent fasting, 16, 17, keto diet, this, that, what. So basically, you're trying to say that we have it all written in the literature that we have available, but somewhere during the phase of evolution, we probably started going a little bit away from that, but probably now it's becoming center stage.
Yes,
all over again.
Whatever is written in Ayurveda was not just written. This was tested by these people and then written
over years.
And in fact, the more that I have come to learn of it,
right,
standing outside,
right,
you will correlate it with some religious beliefs or religious systems, and or you will think that this was old, and things of that sort. However, the more that I've come to dive deeper into it, I come to realize of how systematic and how scientific in their thought process the whole system is.
Right.
Another thing I would like to mention, and something that has won a Nobel Prize now, is the whole concept of circadian rhythm. Right. What does that state?
Right.
I mean, if you were to remove all the references and understand what they're talking about, you would say that this was any Indian in any village living this lifestyle, right? I mean, they say that sleep. They say that sleep best time to go to bed is 10 o'clock or 10:30 p.m. Because your body is undergoing deep tissue repair.
Right.
In the late night hours.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Ayurveda translates and talks about this, saying that the night time is the Vataj Kal.
Right.
And in Vataj Kal, if you are not resting your body, then Vata is responsible for degeneration.
Right.
You will cause accelerated degeneration in your body. So how interesting is this, right?
Right.
It's just that sometimes we tend to discard this sort of information
when it comes
to correct.
Yeah.
But when spoken of in certain ways, it's accepted and adopted more.
Right.
This is one of the missions that at Jiva we hold very dear.
Yeah.
Is we need to provide Ayurveda know-how and knowledge in a way which is data driven, which is backed and is scientific in its rigor, and not just preaching and not just as maxims, but which is being able to backed by a certain understanding.
Right.
So I think and the people in the country are realizing this. They're realizing that it's not just merely it's not rudimentary to adopt some of these principles that are written. They are deep rooted in science.
Yeah.
So the more and more that we sort of the best part of the pudding is in eating it, right?
Yeah.
So take it, try it. I'm sure people will see the immense amount of change that it can bring to their lives.
No, this is wonderfully put. And we have a theory here at Seven. We believe that today the per capita income of Indians is about $2,500 a year, right? Give and take about 2 lakh rupees a year. Now, as an economy, we are growing rapidly. We are the fastest growing economy in the world. So I believe in the next 5-7 years, this $2,500 will probably become $8,000 to $10,000. And our theory is, and we are witnessing that also in this, our journey of building this company, the more aware you're becoming as an individual and the more competent you are becoming in terms of your financial, let's say, stability, the more you are interested in preventive wellness. Because you understood the fact that if you were to earn money only to be spending that money on, painful hospital bills, and I say it is painful not only because of the friction involved in paying for it, but also it's genuinely painful to be, let's say, in a hospital, right? Indians today, and I think Indians aggressively over the next 5 to 10 years, would want to go back and ensure that we should prevent becoming seriously ill. Can we find ways and means which are less intrusive, which are more sustainable, which are more, let's say, accessible, affordable, and which are more organic, and as you've been rightly saying, more holistic, something what Ayurveda propagates. और मुझे ऐसा लगता है MS कि ये जो wave आ रहा है ना इंडिया में, this adoption of Ayurveda and other forms of preventive wellness, for example, gym goers, right? India has an abysmally low number of people who actually work out regularly, right? So I believe that all of these trends are going aggressively towards a direction that let's not fall drastically ill. Let's do whatever in our capacity to become, let's say, and remain healthy, ताकि whatever जो हम कर रहे हैं उसको हम enjoy तो कर. Otherwise, as we say, until you have a medical problem, you may have X problems. Once you have a medical problem, that's the only problem you have.
Correct.
Right?
No, a very, very important point you brought up.
Yeah.
And especially for the youth of the country, because, we have to be a little bit understanding of their context as well.
Yeah.
The pace of the life now, compared to what it was 20, 25 years ago,
What different?
has changed drastically.
Correct.
Right? The amount of pressure, the stress that they go through, trying to, make a career ahead of themselves and all of that, they go through a fair of stress themselves.
Yeah.
What is important for us to realize is that whatever we want to max out in life, we will not be able to max out unless we are maintaining health.
Correct.
So it is imperative, not from any idealistic standpoint, but purely from a practical standpoint, to invest in your health.
Absolutely.
One.
Yeah.
Two, McKinsey Health Institute did a study, and as part of their report, they published that over the last 25, 30 years, the world globally has added 20, 25 years to the life expectancy.
Absolutely.
So we are living longer.
But it's impaired living,
However, the percentage of life that we lived in suboptimal health was 50% 30 years ago. It is 50% today. So we are living longer, but are we living healthier?
But the quality of life component is not changing. Yeah.
So are we living healthier? Is our quality of life improving or not?
Yeah.
And thereby, it is very critical for us to note that just doing something now and we'll have the mindset that, okay, we'll see when something happens.
Yeah.
We've seen that play out, right? We've seen that today we have the diabetic capital of the world, the heart problem capital of the world, and sheer numbers in India are so big.
Always be like.
And like you mentioned, we are a growing economy.
Yeah.
We should not be burdened by this crazy healthcare cost.
Absolutely.
Because that will impair our chances of growing India to a full potential.
I also believe that human capital is one of the biggest capital that we have. Now, we could treat it as a liability, but let's assume for a minute it's a capital, which it is. The healthier your population is, the more productive your workforce is, the faster you will grow.
Exactly.
But if they all become, let's say, reliant on, let's say, the exchequer to take care of them, then it becomes a big financial strain on the, books of the country, which becomes very counterintuitive for somebody like India, because we are still a developing economy.
And another thing, because I think this is unique to India, right?
Yeah.
Understanding of health, not just from a physical standpoint. So not just saying, I go to the gym, or I work out every day, or I am great in the way I look in my body, right? Not health, not just from a physical standpoint. Health is not just how you are physically or how you are in your diagnostic reports.
Right.
Ayurveda says the definition of health, swastha, or the word swastha itself says swa plus stha, being situated in yourself.
Right.
And it treats health not as an absence of something or the abundance of something.
Right.
The term that Ayurveda uses is sama, which means balance.
Okay.
Right? Because your reference point to health and my reference point could be different.
Yeah.
And thereby your balance and my balance is different.
Okay.
We need to maintain the balance that is inherent in me. Sama is the word that's used, which means balance. Right? Because reference points of health are different.
Right.
Thereby your reference to health and your balancing will be different from mine.
Yeah.
And thereby we must approach health from that perspective.
Right.
Secondly, health, physical health, mental health, emotional health, and eventually spiritual health, what we all seek for. That as a common stack is important to address.
Correct.
Ayurveda looks at it. It looks at your sharir, indriya, mana, and atma.
That is so beautiful. Yeah.
And Ayurveda describes this as the Chikitsa Purush.
Chikitsa.
So we're not addressing just the physical body and physical health.
Right.
But how do you address the entire Chikitsa Purush of body, mind, consciousness, and senses?
So this is beautiful. MS, on this note, help our viewers understand. See, a lot of times when people want to access genuine Ayurveda. So I use the term genuine. Reason being, a lot of people sometimes equate Ayurveda with some sort of quackery. कि ये तो कहीं भी हो सकता है, किसी ने भी कुछ prescribe कर दिया. We talked about the fact that this is an age-old science and we are an evolving economy. So there is a dire need for this science to be presented in the new format to people, because that is probably the need of the hour. People will relate with it more and hence the adoption will go up. What is your message to people when it comes about, making that clear distinction between authentic Ayurveda that one could trust versus sometimes, the gray zone that gets built around these alternate forms of medicine purely because knowledge is very restricted sometimes and hence not very clearly published or reported, etc. So can you throw some light on this aspect?
No, certainly. And I think there is a growing concern around as and when Ayurveda, gains popularity also onto what all gets passed off as Ayurveda.
Correct.
Right? So I would urge everybody to invest a little bit in researching whatever that they're adopting.
Right.
If there is something that is being sold to them and it has only 1% ashwagandha, the rest of it is whatever, we need to realize that what goodness is that bringing to me.
Right.
Secondly, when we're making health choices, specifically when it comes to helping us understand what is good for me, what is not good for me, or what must I do if I'm facing such and such concern, approach an expert who's an Ayurveda expert. Right. There may be hundreds of opinions that you may come across.
Yeah.
A lot of people may be able to tell from their personal experiences what they did and how it worked for them.
Yeah.
There's a great value for it.
Yeah.
However, to understand what is most beneficial for you, approach an expert. Many times, and this is more pronounced in Ayurveda, right? This whole problem of self-medicating.
Correct.
Somebody will tell me that, take this tablet and
you'll be okay.
Be fine.
Yeah.
I'll go on Amazon, I'll order it and I'll start consuming it.
Right.
After 6 months, I will realize, my liver is getting impacted.
Yeah.
But you need to take it under the guidance of an expert.
Right.
Another big double-edged sword, I call it, is this claim of saying Ayurveda has no side effects.
Okay.
Now, there is an interesting thing that we must all realize. Everything has a side effect. Even water has side effect.
Right.
So if you're drinking too much of our water, it will fail your body.
Yeah.
You're drinking too little of water, it will fail you.
Correct.
You're drinking water at the wrong times, it will fail you. They say drinking too much water while you're eating or right after you've eaten is poison.
Is not the best,
Is poison, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to blame water for it, there's nothing wrong with water itself.
Yeah.
Similarly, we tend to think that Ayurveda है कुछ
सब safe है.
कुछ अच्छा नहीं करेगा तो कुछ खराब भी नहीं करेगा. Thereby
जितना मर्जी ले
लो. That's not the right approach because if you are taking the wrong dosages, taking for a longer duration than it is prescribed to be taken.
Right.
If you're taking in combinations which can be detrimental to you, or it is something which does not agree with your natural prakriti.
Yeah, composition.
Right? If, say, for example, you're a pitta prakriti and you start consuming things which are heating in nature, it will do more harm to you.
Yeah.
We saw this in COVID. Ayush Kwath and similar such preparations, people started consuming it by the liter. They were drinking 6 glasses of Ayush Kwath. And eventually when they would, face a problem in their health, there was nothing wrong with Ayush Kwath.
They would blame it.
The problem is in the way we consumed it, how much, and which is why I mentioned that you must approach an expert and seek their guidance.
And I think on this note again, and I think this is a very important piece of information for people. You made a very, let's say, I would say, debatable point. Can Ayurveda be harmful? And I think it's very generous of you to say that yes, it can be harmful. And I think you explained it very well in the context of water, which is the most basic form of human, let's say, requirement, right? So I think today, let's talk about Jiva Ayurveda. So you talked about FMCG products and the relevance of FMCG products as a supplementation tool and probably not as a curative form of, let's say, available resources. But today, what do you make of people? Let's say aapne ashwagandha ki baat kari. You said 1% ashwagandha may not be the right. But today, people will start consuming ashwagandha pills like 4 pills a day, thinking that this will make me strong or this will not make me old, anti-aging, this, that, blah, blah. How do we prevent this as a society? Is a question I would like to ask you.
So one, I think, we must move away from fads. So, abhi kuch aaya, ye acha hai, to
sab le lo.
Lene chal gaye, hai na? That's one.
Right.
To research a little bit. I think today, internet has a lot of resources, but don't rely on everything that the internet also has to say because, there may be misinformation, specifically with respect to health.
Right.
India is blessed with many good Ayurvedic Vaidyas.
Okay.
If nothing else, you can call up the Jiva helpline. You can consult a qualified, verified, trained Ayurvedic physician.
Right.
And in fact, for this purpose, we help keep the helpline consultations completely free of cost.
Oh, wow.
We wanted to send a message saying, you have a question, query, concern about health with Ayurveda, you can connect to a verified doctor here at least.
So this helpline is available like all days of the week?
Yes, of course. Anytime you can call.
And how many Ayurvedic Vaidyas are, let's say, working with Jiva?
So there are more than 250 Ayurvedic doctors that work with us. 250 doctors that consult patients over tele, over video, in person. And like I said, everything. We get patients who are calling in to just ask for a home remedy.
Right.
And that's great because, then you're ensuring that some amount of expert rigor has gone behind what you're doing.
Right.
And specifically, I'm talking this with respect to the curative
aspect. Yeah.
Don't start self-medicating. Don't start medication only saying कि कुछ अच्छा नहीं करेगी तो कुछ खराब नहीं करेगी.
Right.
Reach out to an expert. I think now there is enough avenues. The primary reason for us getting into telemedicine was to ensure that even if you don't know which doctor to go to, you have a phone.
Yeah.
Today incoming, outgoing calls are dirt cheap. You have a doctor available in your pocket.
Yeah.
So
no, that is I would say path breaking, MS, because if you could make this free, which you already have, I think this is extremely commendable. And talk to us about some popular products that people buy from Jiva. You have that line of products, right? So what do people buy? Kya lete hai log?
Great. So I think Jiva, like I said, also does well-being products and services.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
And within that framework, one of the most popular categories for us as such now, especially after COVID, has become immunity.
Immunity,
right?
Yeah.
And how we were discussing earlier, also people realize that I need to take care of my health. I need to prevent it. Immunity has become a...
So what are the products? Immunity mein kya products?
So immunity mein things like Giloy, right? Products such as Chyawanprash, products such as Oj Shakti is one of our products, which is essentially for general overall boosting of the immunity.
Okay.
In the category of, we've also seen a lot of pickup in the stress and mind well-being categories.
That's issue.
So we have stress-free tablet, sleep well tablet.
Sleep well.
Jatamansi. Those products we've seen a spike, a very, very sharp spike in the last 2 to 3 years.
And Vaidyas recommend the dosages and all?
Yes.
If you want them.
Oh, yes, of course. So anybody who's especially getting from an e-store gets a complimentary Vaidya consultation. So so you can cross-verify from a Vaidya as to what products would be good for you and what dosages.
No, so I would like to tell my viewers that if you are on the lookout for any authentic Ayurveda, then you have MS here telling you that you could call the Jiva helpline. You could look at the list of products available on the Jiva website, and you have an authentic Vaidya who could handhold you through the journey of availing those products and services in the right quantum, which I think is extremely important. So I think that's fantastic, right? And what about services? You talked about services. So what services do you offer?
So services is our clinics, telemedicine in hospital.
हाँ तो क्या उसमें service लोग करते हैं?
तो people come to us with health concerns.
Yeah.
And like I said, the top ones are digestive.
Yeah.
So problems of people suffering from say IBS or SIAS in the digestive category.
Yeah.
Those are the more common ones. We also get people who are coming from say ulcerative colitis, right?
Yeah.
Not able to find any respite for it.
Yeah.
Musculoskeletal, so joint disorders, cervical, spine.
So this Panchakarma, like, it's a very popular topic on Google also. Panchakarma is a very hot keyword. Tell our viewers, what is Panchakarma?
So Panchakarma is misunderstood as a massage or a beautiful lady lying on a beach and oil dripping on her forehead, right?
We call it what?
Shirodhara.
Yeah.
So that's the popular perception of what Panchakarma is.
Okay.
In fact, technically speaking, neither are Panchakarma.
Okay.
Panchakarma, the word itself, Panch 5, karma means actions or therapies.
Yeah.
These are 5 core therapies which are a full internal deep cleanse. You know how typically you'll say deep cleaning. That's what Panchakarma does.
Deep cleaning. Okay.
So these are 5 different therapies which will include Virichan, Vaman, Nasya, Karnapurnam, Bastis and things of that sort. They are different modalities and while they are 5, but when they are sort of entered in the personalization aspect. Which oil is used? How are they given out? What is the mode of action in which they're combined together with each other? That creates hundreds of permutations and combinations in which they can be done. It's an extremely effective, and what we have seen in the hospital is what are termed as these incurable or very difficult disorders where with the conventional option of healthcare and treatment, the patient is not able to see the outcome. We've had patients, and again, because this is coming from the
2 million
house of Jiva,
Yeah.
I want to make a rider that I am mentioning patient cases. However, these are not magical outcomes.
Right.
Don't misconstrue this as saying that there is a magic portion for these disorders and you come and you pop a pill and you'll be fine. No. There is a serious treatment plan that is made and meted out for months and months, and then there are outcomes. Right. We had one patient coming from Kenya. She was suffering from muscular dystrophy for almost 20 years.
Okay.
Came in on a wheelchair, had done stem cell therapy and everything. Came in on a wheelchair, had been on a wheelchair for 2 years because she had fallen down.
Right.
And, she had no strength in her legs to even stand up.
Okay.
She stayed with us for almost 45 days, underwent a very, very elaborate treatment procedure, went back to her country, continued being on our medication. 45th day when she was leaving from our hospital, for the first time in about a year and a half, 2 years, she was able to get up on her own and walk about 100 meters.
Oh my God. That's priceless.
That's priceless.
Yeah.
Right? She's still undergoing treatment from us, and there is a massive shift in what she was when she came and what she is now. And again, I'm giving this rider that
it's not magical.
I don't want people to think that, this is a magical portion and you can come in and you can... This is serious therapeutic treatment.
So, but tell us about this, right? I mean, we get such queries. Can a normal, healthy individual also undergo Panchakarma therapy?
Of course.
So, how much?
Treat it like, and this is a simple analogy of a car, right? You clean your car every day.
Yeah.
Once in a while, you will take it for servicing.
Correct.
And obviously, when something gets broken down, then you take it to the mechanic.
Correct.
Ayurveda is called the science of life.
Right.
And not just the science of disease.
Right.
And for sure, in fact, what we promote is that you get your body cleansed, detoxed, and do the preventive care procedures every once in a while. So
what is the prescribed frequency?
Whatever accumulation has happened,
you could get rid of those toxins. But what is the prescribed frequency, let's say, if I were to ask you? So how much time?
At least say once in a year or year.
Once a year, yeah.
If you're able to take that much time out, I'm sure, and it's not a too long of a time. Even if you have...
How much time does it
4 to 6 days, 7 days, you're able to take out.
So Panchakarma takes 4 to 6 days.
So like I said, it's personalized, right? So it can take longer, but I'm saying bare minimum. Take out that much time.
Is this 4 to 6 days at a stretch?
Yes.
So how much does this average Panchakarma treatment cost MS?
So typically, if somebody is coming in, say, for 4 to 6 days, the average cost would be anywhere between, say, 20 to 30,000.
20, 30.
And it's extremely affordable, even from the point of view, today, we have people like you who will come in and underwrite that cost at a fraction of a cost. So I'm sure you go to the movies once a month. The cost of a family going to a movies for once a month will be more than what Panchakarma winds up costing you in a year.
I think this is the message we want to share with our audience, right? So I think a lot of us, when we consume other things in our life, let's say we go to a restaurant and order a meal, we probably don't consider the cost of that meal, and we could do it like twice a month, thrice a month, and do it through the year. Versus undergoing something like what you said, Panchakarma, it may cost me 30K, 40K, whatever it may be. But I think it's time that people should start looking at that as an investment, or as a deterrent from spending an exorbitant amount of money elsewhere, which is just waiting to pounce at you, if you were to be a little careless or reckless. And I think there's enough evidence of that. So I think we get a lot of queries about Panchakarma.
For sure.
I think
also, I would like to mention that now, so our hospital is an NABH accredited hospital. Insurances are now covering the cost of your treatment. Right? So you've got relevant insurances. The insurance will take care of your cost. I think India has a very interesting interplay happening where it's got a great modern medicine infrastructure and manpower. It's got a strength in digital health. And it's got a uniqueness in the traditional medical strength of Ayurveda and yoga system that it has. If we're able to combine all three together,
it becomes
something unique that India can offer to the world as a preventive care first healthcare model for a global adoption.
And on this note, I would like to say that, as you know, we as Seven, right? So we stand and we actually want to propagate the message about preventive care. So if you see the lines of domains that we participate in, right? We do dermatology, aesthetic procedures, alternate therapies, fertility, dental, fitness classes we do, right? Ophthalmology treatments which are not covered by, let's say, traditional insurance products. So I think we believe that there is a lot of tailwinds available towards preventive, and we want to make it very affordable and accessible for people. So as you know that if somebody were to, let's say, undergo a treatment which would be 30-40K and may not be covered in some cases through insurance, right? Because they may treat it as an alternate or elective treatment, let's say. Using somebody like us, you could break that entire payment into easy installments. So you could pay that cost over 12 months. So we believe that today in India, a mobile phone is sold on EMIs, furniture is sold on EMIs. You go to Swiggy and Zomato, you can order food on EMIs, right? So I think we are witnessing that immense change in perception and consumption patterns of people. They want to consume things, right? So for example, on Seven, we see a lot of fitness subscriptions. People want to go to a gym. They want to go to a fancier gym, but they don't want to pay upfront. So I believe that layer of affordability, if it comes to something like Ayurveda, जिसको लोग कई बार समझते हैं क्या जरूरत है, right? So I think that क्या जरूरत है और why not? So that why not bridge. I believe that in a country like ours, where penetration of formal insurance is only 10 to 12% MS. That's it. 90% of India has no form of formal, private cover that, of course, the government is doing a lot of impressive stuff. So if you're bottom of the pyramid, then you can get covered by, the Pradhan Mantri Yojana that is there on health, which is very impressive. But I think we are trying to bring about this change in preventive, something which you don't need to be hospitalized for. So I think what's your opinion about some of these, let's say, disruptions?
I think it is imperative if we are to become a country which does not face a disease pandemic. Right? I'm sure, there is the aspect of health which is more aesthetics-led and cosmetic-led, which is
also burgeoning.
It's burgeoning. I'm sure, it's a lifestyle choice that people make, and if it becomes more affordable to them, they're more than happy. I mean, that's a personal choice that people make. I'm coming more from the perspective of a lot of
health,
times
wellness.
People do not make a preventive care choice,
and that investment
merely because there is a certain cost involved.
Barrier,
and I don't see the outcome of it immediately.
Correct.
Right? In an economy today where everything is about instant gratification. I want to see a reel that's 30 seconds and I get maza out of it after the end of the 30 seconds. I want to see if I've spent my money, how is it impacting me? So I think from a behavioral perspective also, if we can make it easier for them to pay for it or afford for it, it will ensure that people are able to not bear the brunt of the cost upfront and able to stagger it over a period of time. And the counter side of it is also that enables more and more people to try it, sample it, adopt it, and also stick to it, because then they know that they'll be paying for it over a period of time. They stick
so that consistency comes, right?
Yes.
So for example, recently on Seven, we've launched this new product innovation. So India has about 9.5 crore credit cards in circulation. 9.5 crore. These are the number of credit cards in circulation. These 9.5 crore cards are held by about 5 crore people. So if you have one card, you may have more than one card. So the average therefore becomes about 1.8, 1.9 per person. So we've launched a product on Seven where if you're a credit card holder, you could pay for any healthcare across the Seven network of more than 5,000 practices with the credit card, and you will get 0% EMIs. Now, historically, people were, let's say, used to going to a consumer durable store and buying a television or a fridge and using that credit card and 0% EMI. So we have brought that innovation for healthcare. So tomorrow, let's say if somebody were to visit Jiva center in Faridabad, the hospital, they could use their credit card on the Savin platform, and they could get 0% cost installments invoked within 15 seconds. So fundamentally, I think we believe that financial wellness and healthcare and wellness, I think these are two subjects which are core to an individual and also probably to the economy. Because as an economy, we want to be financially stronger. We want to be more prosperous. We want to be heard a little bit more in the, in the broader world order. And I think that healthcare and wellness is pivotal for us to achieve that financial inclusiveness and, let's say, decisive voice, at the world stage. So I think we believe that, and this is the feedback that we get, and thanks for your kind words, we get this feedback from almost all practices that we work with, because out-of-pocket expense for private healthcare is more than 85%. Matlab, meri sari saving jo hai, it can go towards healthcare. And that becomes a massive deterrent, because phir main wo karunga hi nahi. I will say, I will, procrastinate that decision. I would say, defer kar lete hai, we will look at it another day, kuch aur kaam pehle aa jata hai. So I think that accessibility and affordability, especially for preventive, I think makes a massive,
for sure. And it probably will help people prepone their health decisions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Before, if I am a youngster and I start earning, before I am investing in a fancy mobile, or before I'm investing in a, I may, prioritize investing in a fancy mobile before investing in my own health or healthy choices.
Right.
I think it is imperative.
Yeah.
And I think the youth of the country today is very, very cognizant of making the right health choices.
Absolutely, yeah.
They are becoming more aware.
Yeah.
They are, researching more.
Yeah.
They are more very careful of what they are going to adopt as part of their diet and lifestyle. It may still be a very early sign right now, but there is a certain movement towards that.
Absolutely.
And we must make it easy for them to, or at least to put it another way, the cost of accessing it should not be the barrier.
Should not be the deterrent.
Yeah.
No, I think this is brilliantly put, MS, and I think it was wonderful to have you on the show. You talked to us about the traditional concepts of Ayurveda, explaining what Ayurveda is. You explained to our viewers the 4 key segments for which people come to Jiva. Jiva being a pioneer in the modernization of Ayurveda and, propagating that message in a very tech-effective and tech-first kind of way to the audience of today. I think it's a wonderful, business, and the vision that you have for making Ayurveda as the first port of call for people, and making that distinction between something which could be labeled as quackery or grandma's recipe jo kitchen mein bhi ho jati hai, versus going to a qualified practitioner when the need arises and treating the ailment and the cure with its due, giving it, due regard. I think that's a very priceless information. You talked about some of the products that people are availing. You talked about Panchkarma and explained to people 4-5 din ka time log nikal sakte hain, I'm sure. And you said once a year, right, is a good time. So I think it was wonderful to have you on the show. It's great to have Jiva as a partner. And I wish Jiva all the very best. And I'm sure our audience would love what they heard today. So please check out Jiva Ayurveda. They are present in, I think, more than 80 centers across the country. They have a very prolific telemedicine arm, which, by the way, is free. And I say that again. So please make use of the resources that Madhusudan and team have built over 32 years at Jiva Ayurveda. So my best wishes to Jiva Ayurveda, and it was wonderful to have you.
Thanks, Jiten. Thank you very much. And I must appreciate also the revolution that Savin is bringing to the healthcare community and making it more accessible. Like you mentioned, India is well on its way to becoming an economic powerhouse of the world.
Right.
What we must ensure being in healthcare is that when we reach there, and in the process of reaching there, we don't lose out on our health. And as the Prime Minister has termed this as the Amrit Kal of Bharat.
Correct.
And I say this very often, is Ayurveda is going to be the Amrit Kalash of the Amrit Kal. And we may Savin make it easier for people to adopt and enroll themselves into the Amrit Kalash.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful to have you.